What's up guys, TrippedUp here. It's been a while since I just sat in front of the microphone with some gameplay in the background and talked. So I thought it was about time to do another one of those videos. Now before I get into the actual topic of the video, I did have a few updates I wanted to talk about my channel. Now if you're a new viewer or just don't really care, you can skip to the timestamp on screen. It won't take long, but I mean, if you want to, it's there. For those of you that do care, I just wanted to say that over the past couple weeks, I've been working on several different videos, 3 to be exact, and I'm about done with all of them actually, and I just wanted to say that we will be going back to weekly uploads. Yes, the professional procrastinator side of me is suffering right now, but I'm trying to be more productive. And like I said, I have 3 videos that I am fairly finished with, just a little bit more work to do, and we're going back to weekly uploads. Now, fair warning, not all of them are Brawlhalla related. In fact, only one of them are Brawlhalla related, so, yeah, just fair warning there. However, it is things that you guys will still enjoy, so there's no need to worry. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, time to talk about the topic. The Sandstorm Effect. So, what is the Sandstorm Effect? Well, the Sandstorm Effect is this theory that Mordekaiser's high usage rate, in fact the highest usage rate out of any legend in every single rank, can be attributed to Sandstorm's usage of him in the past 5 years. Now, there's absolutely no denying that Sandstorm played a part in Mordekaiser's rise to fame. I mean, think about it. Fenrir Mordex is the most popular skin in the entire game. I don't have a statistic on that, but it's most definitely true. And also, it only became cool to start using Mordex after Sandstorm became so good with them. So, there's definitely no denying that Sandstorm played a part in it. What's debatable, however, is the degree as to which Sandstorm affected his popularity. If you think about it, Mordex has several things that can make him popular even if Sandstorm hadn't picked him up. For example, Mordex has Scythe, which is the most popular weapon in the entire game. He also has really good SIGs, and also he's very accessible, so there are several reasons as to why he could be popular, and not just because of Sandstorm. So for the longest time, the Sandstorm Effect stayed as a theory. Even though we all knew it was true, it couldn't be proven. That was until Summer's Championship of 2023 happened. In that tournament, Sandstorm used Mirage, and with her, he absolutely dominated. The reasons as to why Sandstorm chose Mirage over his signature Mordex are fairly obvious. For one, I'm sure he's just bored of Mordex in general after playing him for so many years, but also, for the past 6 months or so, Spear has been a dominating weapon in both the casual and pro scene. So, considering Mirage has both his signature Scythe and Spear, and also some absolutely killer SIGs, it was a pretty easy pick for Sandstorm to pick Mirage. And so, with Freestyle Mirage equipped and lots of SIGs up his sleeve, he went on to win the tournament with Mirage. And after the tournament was over, the true nature of the Sandstorm Effect reared its head. Overnight, Mirage went from a fairly underplayed legend, at least for Scythe legend standards, to being the 7th most played legend in all the ranks combined. On top of that, a lot of these new Mirage players are using the Freestyle Mirage skin, and are also abusing her SIGs just like Sandstorm did during the tournament. So you might be wondering, what's the problem with this? I mean, people did the same thing with Mordex, right? So why does it matter that Mirage is now the new Mordex? Who really cares? Well, for one, I care, because my signature pick has now become the face of degeneracy because every single Scythe player is now picking her up. But also, it's a problem because BMG doesn't see anything wrong with this. Remember how I said that Spear has been dominating both casual and pro play for the past 6 months? Well, I wasn't kidding about that. It all started with Paulo winning BCX with Kaya, and ever since then, Spear's been seeing more and more play in both the casual and pro scene. Now, we went months without a balance patch, and all that time, Spear was gaining more and more popularity and doing very, very well. So, it was fairly obvious that a nerf was needed, right? And so, when it was time for this nerf, what did we get? A Dare Velocity nerf on Miss. That's all. That's all we got. We got the tiniest nerf, the most placebo nerf ever seen. I don't see a single difference. I mean, I've played Spear for years, and I've not seen a single difference between post-patch and pre-patch Spear. It's the same thing. And because of this, Spear has not slowed down its popularity. In fact, it's even more popular after what Sandstorm did with Mirage. And so, I've gotten to the point where I actually hate Spear now. Yes, I hate my own main weapon. Well, actually, my previous main weapon. Yes, this gameplay in the background you're watching right now, me playing Tezca, that's not just for variation. That's actually my main now. I now main Gauntlets, and I main Tezca. Will that change? Probably, but we'll find out. Either way, I hate Spear now because of the way that these new Spear players are playing and how many of them there are. There's just so many Spear players now, and they're all just so annoying that I just hate the weapon now, and I've switched because of that. But of course, let's not leave out our good friend Scythe. Now, Scythe has always been an overplayed weapon, and it's always been the top played weapon for the past, 5 years or so, as I was saying earlier. And it was even played in the grand finals of the Summer Championship by both players. Experience was using Finra Mordex, of all things, which was pretty ironic, and of course Sandstorm was using Mirage. So 2 Scythe legends in the grand finals of the most recent championship. And what did they do to Scythe after that? Nothing. Not a single nerf. I just can't describe how ridiculous this is, that the most played weapon that is clearly very good because of not only how much it's played, but also how much it's played in the top levels of the game, and yet it receives no nerfs. In fact, I'd say that every single nerf that was in the recent balance patch did nothing. I mean, I don't see a difference in any weapon, to be honest with you. And yes, I know that I've said many times before that we're in a game where everything is viable, and I still think that. But just because everything is viable doesn't mean everything is going to get played. Because although I think that Hammer is actually a viable weapon and could be played well, people don't. Because it's in favor of these way better weapons that are just way stronger. And yet, no nerfs come to them and no buffs come to the other weapons. So here's my theory. I believe that after BMG made Hammer the absolute worst weapon ever seen in Brawlhalla history, they realized that they made a pretty big oopsie poopsie, but instead of, I don't know, learning how to properly balance the game, they're like, how about we just don't balance the game at all and just not change anything so we can't make any mistakes? So now we've reached a point where the developers of our game are most likely scared to make changes about the game because they don't want to mess up badly. And yet they have a game mode that is entirely separate from everything else. It's called Experimental. You remember that BMG Experimental? That's where we put things to test. Why don't we put balance patches in Experimental first, and then see if they're good, and then release it to the whole game? That would make sense, right? And yet they don't do that, for some reason. So how does all that relate to the Sandstorm Effect? Well, if my theory is correct, then that means no matter how popular Scythe and Spear and all these broken weapons get, they still won't make any substantial changes to them, as we just saw in the most recent balance patch. If this is the case, then I believe they'll just continue to get more and more usage and still won't have any major changes to them, so the whole game is just going to be dominated by a few weapons. Ironically, this is actually very similar to the heavy weapon meta, in which weapons like Hammer and Axe were very dominant in the game. But that time, they actually made the changes necessary, although a little bit too much, and then they were no longer meta. But this time, they aren't willing to do that because, well, according to my theory, they're scared to do that. They shouldn't be. You shouldn't be scared to make changes about your game. So this is a call to action. BMG, please make some substantial changes to your weapons. Both nerfs and buffs. Change up the meta a little bit. And by all means, put it in Experimental first before releasing to the entire game so we can see if it's good. That would be perfect. But all we want is some changes. The meta has been the same for quite a long time, and these balance patches have done nothing to shift it at all. So we just want something new. Especially me, because I hate that Spear has become this overplayed weapon. Back when I used to play it, it was actually underutilized. People were saying that it was one of the worst weapons in the meta, and then all of a sudden became the best weapon out of nowhere, and now everyone hates it, including me. So if we could just nerf it so it goes back to its underappreciated state, that'd be awesome. Anyways, that's about all for today's video. Like I said, going back to weekly uploads, so get excited for that. And, yeah. Brawlhalla sucks. Anyways, see ya.